Okay, on this episode of The Mandalorian, we find that some of the bad guys were actually good guys, and some of the good guys might not be all that good. We'll talk about it in a second. Hello out there on Season 2, Episode 6 and Chapter 14 called The Tragedy. We find the Mandalorian going where he was told by Ashoka to take the child, which is the seeing stone. And there is something that looks like a similitude to Stonehenge, where there is a spherical rock in the center of it, and the child is placed there, and nothing happens at first, but eventually a force field goes around him as the Force is calling out to any Jedis in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, the people that show up are the remnants of the Empire and an old character. We have known from the first episode of this season that Boba Fett was going to be featured. The sheriff had Boba Fett's armor, and at the very end of that episode, we see him peering from between the rocks at who ended up with it. And so we had a feeling that he would be getting into the story, and he did this time. It's revealed that while there has been a lot of speculation about whether Boba Fett and Jango Fett were actually Mandalorians or if they were just impersonators, it's cleared up here that Jango Fett was actually a foundling and was brought into the Mandalorian culture himself, fought in the wars there, and with Boba Fett being the son of Jango, that is entitles him to the armor that he demands from the Mandalorian, who at first is not really all of that interested in letting him have it because he is not of the way, not of the cult or whatever. This changes when a couple of Imperial shuttles show up with a bunch of stormtroopers that start shooting and setting up something of a Star Wars era Gatling gun to go after them, all the time while Grogu is stuck in a force field in a force trance. And, of course, they can't rescue him until that goes away, and it goes away just in time for a new kind of troop called Dark Troopers to snatch him up and fly him back to an Imperial Star Cruiser, a small one, but big enough. A lot of destruction in the wake of all of this, and in the end, they actually lose the child. But we learn in here a lot about Boba Fett, and there was a good line in here where he's shooting at one of the shuttles as it's getting away, and it hits it, and it runs into the other one. They both blow up and hit the ground. The Mandalorian says, "Nice shooting," and Boba Fett says, "I was aiming for the other one." I thought that was kind of a fun deal there. We may have seen the last of the Razor Crest, although the staff, the spear, which Mando got in the previous episode, was the only thing that really stayed intact from inside the ship. So that was something that's going to make a difference going forward. The old Chekhov's gun bit where if you are going to shoot a gun in the last scene, you establish that there's one in an early scene. And so that's no doubt going to happen with this staff of Beskar steel. Jin Darin, which is his actual name, and Boba Fett have now teamed up together in order to try to retrieve the child. Part of the deal for getting his armor back was helping him protect the child, and so Boba Fett considers that a quest, if you will. So that's where the plot is going. But this is interesting in Star Wars lore. Boba Fett, who's not even named in the first couple of movies, becomes a much sought-after character very soon after The Empire Strikes Back hits the theaters. There's a lot of fan fiction written, a lot of articles, a lot of backstory revealed, and he becomes a much more interesting character than you would think. And so by providing some more backstory on him here, for the first time, we know that he might not be as evil as he was led to believe. And if you take a close look at Mando himself, he might not be quite as good as you're led to believe. They've both probably done the same amount of killing and kidnapping for hire. It's just that somewhere along the line, when you develop a conscience, you can become a good guy. And that's where both of these characters are now, as they team together to try to rescue Grogu from the remnants of the Empire, from specifically Moff Gideon, who obviously is going to use Grogu as a blood donor in order for him to be able to clone Force-capable clones. Now, there is some talk among the internet that what Gideon is trying to do, and it was kind of shown in a couple of episodes previous, that what we have is an attempt to reclone Snoke, or reclone the Emperor, and that comes in the form of Snoke, who is then the protagonist or the antagonist in the last three movies. So this could be a tie-in to that, or it could be a red herring, but most likely not. This is evidently trying to tie things together. They've been doing this with characters from the Clone Wars and various other fan fiction, which was considered non-canonical up to now, but they're taking bits and pieces of that and including it in this story, and we may see more of that as they do more productions, as Disney will look and pick and choose, really, from characters and situations that they think might be profitable for them. All in all, it was a tension-filled episode. I suppose it was well enough done. Personally, I liked The Mandalorian a lot better before it got too Star Warsy, but then I have to admit that Star Wars is what this is all based on. So just having a guy in a helmet go through towns and help people probably isn't enough of a story to maintain in the Star Wars universe. So what we have here is a face-off in the next couple of episodes with Moff Gideon and what's left of the Empire, and there will be probably some kind of partial victory, but then Snoke. That's a guess on this on our part at this point, but I think that's what it's going forward to be. So I'd like to know what you think, what your theories are. Please put them in the comments. And, of course, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do so. We talk about The Mandalorian. We talk about Star Trek. We talk about other things, science fiction, as they come about. If we have a gap between series, we may talk about the Clone Wars. Go back and rewatch that and see if there's some things that we can say about that in this space. That all depends on other things happening. So, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, don't go far.